Southpaws contains adult language and adult situations. If you're not an adult, you should not be listening to this program. Listener discretion is highly advised.
And welcome to Southpaws on WPRR and WPJC Public Reality Radio. We are the leaders of the revolution. My name is Darren Gibson. I am your host for today. We're going to do things a little bit different today. Actually, a lot different. April, Joe, Stan, and Jim were given the choice of taking the day off, and all four of them decided that they wanted to take the day off. I'm here, but I'm not alone. I'm here with our intern, Lauren Yentz. Lauren, good morning.
Good morning.
And also with us this morning is our assistant program director, Mary Harrington. She's in the other room right now taking care of some goodies. Yeah, there we go. Got some headphones set up for her. Yeah. Good morning, Mayor.
Morning.
Looking stylish with your Help Us Bernie Sanders, You're Our Only Hope hoodie.
Star Wars for the win.
Yep, exactly.
My favorite hoodie.
All right. I got Mike 2 on for you. Whoever was over there must have... it was Dave yesterday. Yeah.
Does he stand up during the show?
It might help to hear you if I actually turn the volume up on the thing. There we go. Yeah, no, he was actually sitting, so I don't know how it ended up there. Yeah. A couple of things. First off, the point puzzle is our first break, as always. So if you do the point puzzle, get pen and paper ready. We're going to be doing things a lot different today. Over the weekend, Lauren and I conducted a pre-recorded interview with two folks from Nevada, Karim Medrano and Valeria Romano. And they were talking about what happened at the Nevada State Democratic Convention on May 14th. And they have even more details than what was previously discussed when we had Adrienne Ashley on a couple of weeks ago. Karim was supposed to be a Bernie Sanders delegate at the convention and was denied his credentials as a delegate. He will explain what happened and the excuse that he was given for not having credentials. However, his wife, Valeria, became a Bernie Sanders delegate. She was an alternate, and she attended the convention as a delegate. Karim attended the convention as a volunteer for the Bernie Sanders campaign. So they were both in the building. They both have some very unique perspectives on what happened. You're going to be hearing a lot of things. They're going to confirm once again no chairs were thrown, despite what the corporate, conservative, mainstream media originally said. Then they said, I guess it didn't happen, but they never issued a retraction, or at least an official retraction. So, yeah, we're going to get to this pretty quick here. So we're going to take our first break very, very early. I hope everybody's looking forward to this interview. I'm going to warn you, it is lengthy, which is why I gave everybody the option of taking the day off. In the first hour of the show today, we're going to run the interview with Karim Medrano. Part 1 runs just over 16 minutes, and Part 2 runs at 24 minutes. So that's going to be lengthy. Please listen, and if you have friends, call them up. Tell them they need to listen. This is some important stuff here. Valeria's interview, we're going to run in the second hour. The first segment runs about just under 14 minutes, and the second segment runs just over 15 minutes. So Most of the stuff today is going to be pre-recorded, but we will have some commentary after all of it. We'll probably do some commentary at the top of the second hour after Karim's interview is finished, and then we'll have some more commentary after Valeria's interview is finished. So I tell you what, we're going to go ahead and let's take our first break right now. Again, we're going to do the point puzzle as our first break, as we always do on Wednesdays. So grab pen and paper. We got our music started up. And part one of our exclusive interview with Karim Medrano, who attended the Nevada Democratic Party Convention, is coming up right after this. Make sure you stick around.
They're exiting stage left, but don't worry. They'll be back very soon. You're listening to Southpaws on WPRR and WPJC.
They're not politically correct, but they're pretty close. They're Darren Gibson, Joe Elder, and April Crow. Now back to Southpaws.
And welcome back to Southpaws on WPRR and WPJC Public Reality Radio. Darren Gibson along with our intern Lauren Yentz. Lauren, good morning.
Good morning.
We're conducting this pre-recorded interview, and we have our guests on the phone. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Hi, my name is Valeria Romano. I'm from District 1 on Las Vegas, Nevada. And my fiancé,
Karim Medrano from Las Vegas, Nevada, from Congressional District 1.
Yes, good morning to both of you, and thanks for joining us today. The reason I asked you to do this phone interview, you were both chosen as delegates for the Nevada Democratic Convention, and there's been a lot of misinformation that has come out since the convention ended on May 14th. So I'm going to let you two go ahead and explain your experiences at the Nevada Democratic Convention.
Well, what it was, I mean, it was something that, I mean, was done like very, very, very bluntly, was that they completely suppressed everybody's voices, including both sides of the campaigns, whether you were going for Bernie or for Hillary. They all noticed it. Basically, the head of chair her name is Roberta Lang. Mm-hmm. She is the one that basically was gonna go through and started going through with the platform. That was the first thing coming into the convention. So as the platform was, I'm not exactly sure because I was actually outside. So if you wanted to talk to my fiance, she can go a little bit more in detail with that one. But I actually ended up having to stay outside because one of the things was when I tried to come in to be my delegate and get my credentials, they said that for some odd reason I wasn't coming up on the system. So they sent me over to what's called a troubleshoot table. I got sent over there. I tried to talk to these people that were on these computers, and same thing. They couldn't find me in the system. They're saying that I wasn't showing that I was registered a Democrat and so forth. So then the next process would be dealing with what they call the committee board of the state convention, or the credential committee, should I say. Waited there for, I want to say about a good 6-7 hours to get in, just to them to tell me that I was going to be denied, and they vacated my seat because it showed that I couldn't prove to them that I was a registered Democrat. The funny thing is, I've been a registered Democrat since 2008, and I voted for Obama when he first campaigned. And they're saying that I wasn't registered. I was able to pull up on my Nevada Secretary of State that I showed I was a Democrat, but on the bottom it said not eligible to vote at this time. So based off of that assumption, they said that was the reason why, and they had vacated my seat. Now, the thing is, I am a registered Democrat, so that was the first thing. So instead of me leaving the state convention, one of the Bernie supporters told me, you know what, go ahead and volunteer and, help us out and direct the crowd. So I went to go ahead and did that, and basically I got a view from the outside as to my wife was inside of the convention. So I got to see everything that was going outside, and let's just say it was just, blunt, just fraud at its worst. I I was outside trying to direct people to go into the right areas. And the way the convention was set up is if you were coming into the convention hall, you went directly down to the convention hall, and there was a giant line, and that line was to get into the convention. But prior to you get into that line, there's a split in the hallway to your left if you didn't get your credentials for the Bernie campaign. They had two separate rooms, one for Bernie, one for Hillary. Basically what was happening was everybody that was coming in that didn't have their credentials, that were Bernie supporters, instead of them getting directed to go straight, to the left to go into the credential room to get the credentials and then to the convention, they were telling them to go and line up in the gigantic line to get into the convention, which they didn't have their credentials, so by the time they came up to the door, they were not allowed to come in.
Wow.
So, that was just a part of it. There's so much I can go in there. I can sit here and talk to you for 3 hours if you wanted me to. That's how much stuff was going on.
Wow. Well, Karim, let me ask you this. You've been a registered Democrat since 2008, and you were able to show on the website that you were registered. So why do they put at the bottom that you were not eligible at this time? What does that even mean? What's the criteria for that?
I honestly don't know. I even try to explain it, and the answer that I got was the best way I can explain it is Roberta Lane. She tried to make it seem like it was going to be a fair committee board, and they were supposed to put 5 Hillary supporters and 5 Bernie supporters. But I can honestly tell you that there's probably 2 Bernie supporters because of the rest of them, they did not seem to side. But anyways, they try to explain to me that depending on if you didn't practice your vote or so forth, the system automatically purges you and all that. So I'm like, okay, well, the funny thing is, if I got purged, why is it that I show up in the state secretary? That's kind of weird. But the only thing is, it just shows not eligible to vote. Now, I did tell them that I did move and all that, and they asked me about, if I did an address change and all so forth. The thing is, when I had moved from the time, I didn't, but it's still, the thing is, what they were trying to prove to me is that I wasn't a registered Democrat, even if I changed, and that's what I was talking with somebody there, like, it does not matter if you change your address, you're still been a registered Democrat since 2008. Mm-hmm. So that was their main argument, and basically the whole committee board voted me out, saying that, due to that, I wasn't able to go ahead and get my credentials, so they vacated my seat, and it probably went to an alternate. I'm not sure what alternate it went to.
Mm-hmm.
So, in that process, like I said, instead of me leaving the convention, I went and stayed as a volunteer. But prior to that, it's actually something that goes down to a level of corruption in the sense of whoever's controlling the campaign for Hillary, or as far as from her coming down. I'm not saying it's her, or I'm not saying, I don't know exactly how they run it, but it's all started from the actual Park County convention. Now, the way the process works in Nevada is you have 3 competitions. They start off with what's called the caucus, and then they go into the county conventions, which is different. The biggest county we have out here in Nevada would be Clark County, which is where we're staying at. But when they have the county convention, they all have to come to Clark County. And then at that moment, we had when we were waiting to get into the line, it was a gigantic line. We were going into the Clark County. By the time we got up to the front, there was a woman in the front that, as we came up, we were holding some signs, and you can tell we were Bernie supporters. And we came up to the line, and literally she was just trying to deny, saying that we could not vote. This woman, at the moment, we didn't know nothing about until later, but she wasn't wearing any kind of, anything to tell you that she was either going for Bernie or for Hillary. So this woman was telling us that we couldn't vote, that we couldn't vote, we had to get out of the line, we couldn't register to vote at the Clark County Convention. So I was like, well, why not, And they're like, well, anybody that's a Bernie supporter has to go back to the stadium, because there's a stadium where the convention was being hosted at. Mm-hmm. And everybody has to go over there. And then as you get called, you're supposed to come back in. And I'm like, no, that sounds weird to me. So she kept, literally, she started getting mad and like almost getting in my wife's face. face saying, like, you know, you need to get out, we need to get out, you know, this, you can't vote. So I was like, you know what, I'm not leaving nowhere until I speak to somebody. There was a lady there that was part of the Bernie campaign, volunteer, and I asked her, I was like, is there anybody that I can speak to? And she's like, oh, yeah, you know what, let me go get somebody for you. So she takes a few minutes. By then, the lady's kind of just standing there. She's looking at us, you know. I'm standing off to the side, and then a gentleman comes up from the Bernie campaign. I went in and I started telling him what was going on, that they didn't want to let us go. And he's just like, oh, that's weird. So he's like, you know what? We actually got one of the lawyers for the Bernie campaign of Nevada over here. And I'm going to bring her over here as part of the legal team. So I was like, oh, great. So as soon as she walked up to me, that woman walked away from the line. So I was like, okay.
Really?
Yeah, so the woman walks away from the line. She goes off to the end of, like, you know, I can't really explain. It's the way this building is set up. It's basically a long rectangular building. Mm-hmm. And the end of the line was, there's some doors off to the left, and you can go up to the one. There's still like a good room of amount. So she walked away farther enough. I could still see her, and she was kind of keeping an eye on us, seeing what we were doing. But I'm pretty sure she knew who that woman was, because she was the Bernie campaign for the legal team over here. So we started telling her, and she even went down and got her names. And I told her, you know, this woman's telling us that we can't register, we can't vote. And she's like, no. So there was a woman named by the name of Judy that was, I don't know if I think she was a little bit higher up on the process of the campaigns for Bernie. She grabbed us and she went in and took us to the computers. We got registered. We went in and placed our votes, and we got our we registered as a unelected alternate for the Clark County Convention. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that went on. That convention itself was a little weird too, the way that things were running. But for the most part, actually, the one that went over to Bernie on that one. So everybody was happy, it was ecstatic, and so forth. Now, based off of that, that's where we got elected to be the delegates for the state convention, which is the next competition in line from that. So in that particular convention at the Clark County is when they vote who's going to go and be at the state convention. So we actually ended up showing up on the list for the Nevada Democrats on their actually official website on the primary list. Both of our names showed up that we were elected for the Bernie campaign side as the elected delegate. Okay? So now we go back and forward back to the state convention. Well, this is the funny thing. When I walked into the committee board to try to deal with my issue, the same woman that was in front of the line was sitting in the head of the committee board.
And her name is?
And her name is R.T. Blanco. The first name is like Art, like spelled A-R-T-I-E, and then her last name is Blanco. That woman was the head, or no, actually the way it was set up, because it was supposed to be 5 and 5 on both teams, they didn't do it ahead. So then what they called it, she was the co-chair for Hillary's committee board. And then there was another woman that was a co-chair for Bernie's committee board. That woman happened to be now is the head of the committee credentials. Well, the funny thing is that if you go back, and this is what I tell everybody, you know, that I've been telling everybody, it's actually out there on the media, on YouTube. There's a woman by the name of Christine Kramer. Christine Kramer was originally the head of the committee board, and she was the one that was running everything for the Clark County Convention. Now, the thing about her is she is a very unbiased woman, and she does everything very clear and very fair. Well, a few hours after she finished doing, because I personally talked to her, and this is what I'm thinking, this is the corruption. A few hours after I talked to her, she was letting me know that she actually set up the whole convention, and like one or two, or like a couple hours prior to the convention, they tried to boot her out of her committee board. And if you go on YouTube, there's actually a video where she posted, and she has a sit down, and she sits down on the floor, and she's telling them, why you guys voted me out? I mean, you guys are not even doing this legally. I mean, basically they forced her out of the committee board and replaced her with Artie Blanco, who is connected to Hillary's campaign, which now she was the head of the board for this state convention.
Yep.
So, I mean, you can kind of see the connections that are going on there. I mean, it's horrible. I mean, me being outside, seeing the aspect of how they're running it on the outside, it's just mad. And, like, I can tell you right now, the way it happened, you know, they're trying to say that, you know, Bernie supporters were violent, you know, we're just causing chaos. It was nothing like that. I mean, it was completely opposite. There was one gentleman, he was an older gentleman, I believe he was a veteran, and let's just say after the way the convention ended, he pretty much was in shock and utterly shocked, just like everybody else in that room, what happened. And he did pick up a chair and was going to attempt to throw it at what do they call it, the stage. Mm-hmm. And prior to that happening, there was a Bernie supporter that actually, from the campaign went up to him, grabbed him. We actually grabbed the chair to keep him from throwing it, and the guy hugged him and told him to calm down, put the chair down, and that was it. Now, the funny thing is, media doesn't say nothing about this, but the only violent thing to go on into the Nevada State Convention was actually there was a gentleman that actually ended up hitting a Bernie supporter. This was a male Hillary supporter that ended up punching a female Bernie supporter, and he got escorted out by the security. The funny thing is the media does not say nothing about that. But they try to say, yeah, but they said that we were the ones throwing chairs, which in reality there was one chair that was picked up, was going to get thrown, but it did not get thrown. We prevented it from happening, and we diffused the situation. So for them to say that we were just throwing chairs and just going like straight maniacs, that is just way out of line.
We'll be back with part 2 of our interview with Karim Medrano right after this. Make sure you stay tuned to Southpaws.
You're listening to Southpaws on WPRR AM 1680, FM 90.1, and FM 95.3, WPJC FM 88.3, and streaming at publicrealityradio.org.
Call 616-656-1680 to speak with Darren, Joe, and April. Now more of Southpaws.
And welcome back to Southpaws on WPRR and WPJC Public Reality Radio. We now continue with part 2 of our interview with Karim Medrano about what happened at the Nevada Democratic Convention. And there's video proof of this. I talked with Adrienne Ashley a couple of weeks ago, and she has 14 hours of footage in her possession. And she said not one single chair was thrown, and the only assault that happened was a Bernie supporter was punched by a Hillary Clinton supporter.
Yep. And it's funny because no one said nothing about that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, why do you think that is? Why do you think the media is not talking about this, or what they're saying is a complete fabrication? Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, for the first part, I mean, if a lot of people were to actually go out there and do the research, Hillary campaign, or should I say, Hillary got funded by one of the biggest network chains, which is Time Warner. Time Warner owns quite a few different avenues of networks that we watch, CNN and all of them. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of see what's going on there. They kind of want to go away from the line to try to make us look bad and, let's just say, kind of butter up Hillary, the way I look at it. Because, I mean, it's just way out of line. And what's crazy is, I kind of want to be seen as the bad child for causing that ruckus in Nevada, because you know what? Thanks to that, now we got other states that are actually paying attention to the whole process and are actually stepping up and demanding that they go ahead and make sure the voices are heard, from Arizona, New York. I mean, it's great that they made us look like we're the bad kids, but you know what? As our creed says, battle born. We're born we got our statehood during the Civil War. There's a reason why we're battle born, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So yeah, I've been looking online here since we've been talking, and this, oh my God, Artie Blanco is a delegate at large, and she is definitely she's a solid Hillary Clinton supporter.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
And like I said,
also,
that's just scratching the surface.
now, Valeria was telling me in a private conversation a few days ago that Artie Blanco tried to stop more other Bernie supporters from coming in about a half hour after you guys were able to get through the line.
At the Clark County Convention? Yeah, she was actually trying to, after we did our process, after, we talked to the lawyer and all that, and we were able to vote, she continued to try to going to the line and try to tell people that they couldn't vote or direct. I'm not exactly sure because I wasn't hearing her, but the thing was funny was that after we did that, we were standing by her the whole time. Literally, we were going down the whole line. Anybody that was Bernie's campaign, we were telling them, look, there's going to be a woman up front that's going to tell you that you can't vote, or she's going to give you some kind of nonsense that you can't do something. Don't listen to her. Stay in line. It's your right to vote. So a lot of people, and she saw us that we were out there just literally just going to every person in the line, making sure that they understood that, it's their right to vote, that what she was doing was completely wrong. And after a while, she just got the hint and walked away from the line. But yeah, I mean, she kept being at the line, and I'm assuming she was telling people that they couldn't vote. Because, I mean, you see people, once they were talking to her, they were looking at each other like, why not, type of face, So let's just say that woman is their ace in the hole, but undercover. Now, the thing is, no one really knows that she's the head of the board and all that stuff. They just think she's someone local because she is based out of Las Vegas. And the scary thing is that she actually is the head of a lot of big Latino programs and organizations, which is scary because the way she's doing it's not a political process. I mean, she needs to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Along with her and Roberta Lang. I mean, but this is the funny thing. Roberta Lang, like, it's all a giant web. Roberta Lang, all the people that were from the committee and all those people from the Nevada Democrats are very good friends amongst themselves. I mean, you can see it clearly on their page, on their Facebook page. I mean, you see them, how they go and have dinners together and stuff like that. So they're very good friends. So, I mean, that just gives you to believe Roberta Lang just purely went off of her being, her good friend, and she appointed her to the head of the board. Now, the funny thing is, there was after what happened to Nevada, I don't know if you remember, but Bernie actually addressed and sent a letter out to the media saying, of what happened in Nevada. And if you clearly see on the end of that letter, he states, now, I don't remember exactly the words, but I know it says something along the lines of, it's something about the committee board of how they got rid of her for being too fair. Now, that person is the one that I'm talking about. It's Christine Kramer. Even Bernie himself is pointing that out. She got completely put out of the committee board because she was too fair. And then they replaced her with Artie Blanco, which is now basically running the whole show. And then the other sad thing is, literally, she was the one pretty much talking for the committee board when there's supposed to be two co-chairs. There's one for the Bernie and one for Hillary. Well, the woman for Bernie hardly ever even got to talk. They didn't even let her want to talk at all, but the only one they were letting talk was Artie. So I was like, oh, what's going on there? Even when she came out with the minority report, which is where we find out that 64 delegates signed a petition that they were now able to get the credentials to go ahead and get the credentials and somehow get into get a ballot and put it in there. And they didn't even want to let her read that minority report. So, like, it was just bluntly in her face, but, there was an actual at-large delegate there for Hillary that actually stood up and was like, you know what, I'm a congressman, so I can go ahead and read this. And he got the letter from the minority report, and he read that. So we know from that factual facts from the minority report, there were 64 Bernie delegates that were not counted into the ballots. And the funny thing is, we only lost by like 31 votes, 33.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's another iceberg there about the whole votes. I mean, because if you go on, like I said, YouTube is a funny thing. Social media is a funny thing. A lot of people say, "Oh, don't listen to that stuff." But in reality, I go more towards social media because they show the real things.
Right.
There's a guy on there that same thing. YouTube is based out of New Jersey, and he goes on explaining that he ended up. There was a big chain out there. I think it was either CBS or CNN or from New Jersey, an outlet out there that released that Hillary won the state convention in Nevada 3-4 hours prior for it to be ending over here. And then this is the crazy thing. It was the same exact counts that were addressed after. But then if you go on there and you look it up on YouTube, you can find it. I forgot the guy's name, but if you put up Nevada State Convention, there's going to be, literally the page will just fill up with different videos of stuff that went on there. That's how bad it is. Mm-hmm. It is bluntly in your face. And you even have Hillary supporters that have been Democrats for all their life just literally started tearing up and just say that they cannot believe what just happened. And that right there, they were just going to completely leave the Democratic Party at all. Like, just stop. There's people that even grabbed their credentials and just ripped them up. It was horrible. They literally, our voices were not heard whatsoever.
Good old American democracy right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
And and what I'm telling everybody, everything that I tell, if you guys don't believe me, if people don't believe me, the evidence is out there. Go on the computer, you can find everything that I'm talking about is valid with videos. I guarantee you this. And that's what's scary about it, is that the information is out there, but yet people still are blinded to what's going on.
Well, were you able to talk with other Bernie delegates that were denied entry into the Nevada Democratic Convention?
Yeah, actually, there was one in particular that I think was very, very wrong. There was a young girl, turned 18 like a last year or something like that, and she was out of Carson. So this girl, she had prior to the convention and all that, she actually went to the caucus. She registered at her office over there. It's considered a rural county where she was at. So the process is different from, I guess, I don't know if it is or not, but she was telling me that she registered way before the whole process. She had a thing where they couldn't find her, so then she went in and addressed it personally where she lives at, and he fixed the issue of her being, and just showed that she even got a voter's registration card that she was a Democrat. Well, she comes over here, and she shows up as a delegate. She was elected a delegate, and they did not want to give her credentials, saying that same thing, that she could not show that she was a Democrat. And the thing was, she had fixed this. She went in, she even showed me all the paperwork and all that she went in and like literally had a process with them where she lived at to fix that, and they did, and yet she still has issues coming over here to do that. So it's like, wow, what's going on? And then it's just a massive amount of people. What the media tells you is that, about the 64 delegates and all that. Yes, that is just 64 of them that actually made a petition. So that was the only reason why they were having to disclose that. Mm-hmm. But there was hundreds, I can guarantee you, hundreds of delegates that were not allowed from the Clark County Convention up to the State County Convention that were suppressed.
Wow.
It's atrocious.
Yeah,
but
atrocious is a good word to use for it. Oh, what was that, Kareem?
I was saying, but the media only points out about the 64 delegates because they were the ones that did the petition, and that was it. But they don't point out the hundreds that weren't counted or that were suppressed or denied because of something that they can't show they were Democrat. They were giving people the dumbest reasons ever. Because some of these people, I was out there talking, and these people were just telling me, oh, yeah, it's this reason and this. I was just like, oh, my God, are you serious? Yep. So, it's pretty heartbreaking because, there was elderly people out there for hours. This convention went on like 4 hours. They exceeded 4 hours into what we're supposed to go into. And, people there, the way they had it is that they couldn't bring no food into the state convention. And the cool thing
what was the reason for that?
Well, it was a private property. It was done at the Paris Hotel. It's a hotel. owned, I believe it's owned by MGM. I'm not exactly sure who's the big company, but Paris Hotel is off of Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Strip. It's a big casino. It's the Paris. It has a miniature Eiffel Tower and everything out there. That's where they hosted the convention. Well, their rules is that, since they were private, they have certain line of rules that we had to follow, and one of them was we couldn't bring outside food.
Really? Yeah. By the way, Paris, Las Vegas is owned by Caesars Entertainment.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's fine.
And
I just find that so odd. They expect you to sit in line all these hours, and you can't. If they're not going to provide you food, then you can't even bring your own in. What's
right? Yeah. It gets better than this, man. I mean, just what I'm telling you is it's going to shock you. So the thing is that, you're not allowed to bring any food. So obviously people have been there waiting for hours. Each campaign had their little meeting room where the people can go into, like a little ballroom. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming they all paid for sandwiches and stuff like that, but it was only brought out it was personally from Paris. It wasn't no other outside company.
Okay.
And that was all they were allowed. But the thing was, they were doing that while people had to go and get the credentials. So, I mean, you either had a choice of even go get food or the possibility of not getting your credentials, not making it to the convention. So what do you think people went and did?
Yeah.
They went and got their credentials.
Exactly. And not only that, but weren't there some instances that they were trying to start the voting process early, or?
Oh, that's another process of it. I mean, like I said, there's so much things I can step in. I'd be here for 3 hours. On that, it was the convention wasn't supposed to be called till 10 o'clock. That's when basically was the deadline that the doors, if you didn't get your credentials, if you didn't get into the convention, you didn't get your credentials yet, you were closed off. That was it. You couldn't get your credentials after 10 o'clock. Well, the first voice, because the way they were doing the votes on the side of the convention, they were doing with a voice vote based off of how many yays and nays. The first vote was placed into, they basically started the convention 30 minutes early. They started at 9:30. At 9:30, when reality, it was supposed to start at 10. Mm-hmm. So that was the first thing. At 9:30, Roberto Lang, the head of the Nevada Democratic chair, comes out and wants to put in a platform. Like I said, I wasn't exactly sure what the platform entitles and all that, but all I know is the platform, we were against it. So you can clearly see on this YouTube video, or hundreds of YouTube videos, where Roberto Lang goes in, for everybody that's in favor, say yay. And you hear the crowd, they're like, it's not that loud, right? And then she's like, forever not in favor, saying, and you literally hear the crowd erupt and saying, no, everybody's saying, no. And she just goes, and she just literally, hits down the gavel and says, the world's passed. Go on, basically, whatever. What? Everybody was like, what's going on? That's the first instance. Well, and everybody started.
Yeah, real quick, Karim. Now, in the rules, as I understand with the Nevada Democratic Party, with the convention rules, if there's a discrepancy with the voice vote, they're supposed to take a head count, aren't they?
Yep.
And they never did that.
Nope, never did. They just went on with the rest of the process. That's exactly how they did it. Yeah. Because the way is, and then the way it actually ended was also against their own rules. Now, if you see on the rules, on the state convention rules, they say the only way they can adjourn the convention is if in case of a state of emergency, or if 80% of the room, the room, says to adjourn the convention. Well, that does not happen nowhere remotely near that. Now, I'm sure you can go into these videos, and there's plenty of videos of that too. There's a gentleman by the name of Jesse Sabaya. Now, Jesse Sabaya is running for Congressional District 3 out here in Las Vegas, Nevada. If it wasn't for that guy, let's just say nothing would have happened. He actually came out and demanded and put a motion on the board to recount, and that's what started everything. Mm-hmm. Literally, he went up to the podium and said, "I demand a recount." After that, and this is the funny thing, okay? The reason why they didn't want to do a recount, once again, being now forfeited to the head count, is that a lot of these Hillary supporters, as they saw that we were getting upset with what was going on, they started leaving. So if you look over on the side of the room where the Hillary was at, there was hardly any people there. Mm-hmm. So they knew automatically if they did a head count, there was no way that they were going to win based off of how literally everybody that was a Bernie supporter was still there. And there's a woman on the video on YouTube that literally points that up. She stands up and she shows you the crowd of the Hillary and she shows you the crowd of the Bernie. And she's like, oh, look, we're all here, yeah. And then everybody starts waving at her. I mean, that's how bluntly it is. If they would have done a head count, they would have lost right off the bat. Well, they completely, if you look on this video, we were sitting there. I mean, yes, there were some people saying some vulgar stuff. I'm not going to lie. Mm-hmm. But we were all up on literally where the barriers at to the podium. We were up there demanding a recount, and like literally she just completely was like, you couldn't even hear what she said. She was like something blah 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 blah, adjourn, bam. She just hit the gavel and completely took off running. By then the crowd erupted, and that's what happened. That's when people started getting crazy, and it was just out of control because she completely adjourned it. And this is another thing. She adjourned the convention without us even voting at the at-large delegates or the pleo delegates. We didn't even get to vote on none of those.
Oh, wow.
Jesus.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, if you look at their Nevada convention website, they have people that they elected. So that means they voted on them themselves because obviously the people weren't able to vote.
Oh, my God.
So that's another corrupt thing about them.
Did anything go right this convention?
No, it completely went wrong. But like I said, I mean, the way I was telling everybody, if we're the stepping stone to get stuff going in the right direction, then I'm glad it happened to us, you know.
Well,
we struggled for hours.
I'll make the correction. It went right for the Hillary Clinton supporters. It went wrong for any type of Democratic vote or anything involving rules of order when it comes to the convention.
Actual justice.
Yeah. Apparently, when I talked to Adrienne Ashley a couple of weeks ago, she was going to be interviewing, I forget who it was, but it was somebody who basically said that Robert's Rules of Orders were absolutely, completely obliterated in the entire process at the Democratic National Convention in Nevada.
Actually, now that you addressed that, I remember that's actually that was the first voice vote, was to put the platform. And basically, it was Robert's rules completely against, and she had her own set of rules, which was Roberta's rules. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones that were put in by the voice vote, and we were opposing that because we know that Robert's rules are very clear. The way it's held out, everything's put in front of you, and you know what's going on, the whole process. Mm-hmm. But now, the way they did it with Roberta's rules is they have more secrecy, and they're able to have stuff behind what happens behind closed doors, which is the committee board. Now, the crazy thing is that this committee board is guarded the whole time during the convention. They have 2 Metro Police departments standing outside of these doors, making sure no one goes in there. Because what happens in there, I can almost imagine, is just nothing but corruption.
I can imagine.
Wow. That is this is just unbelievable. It really, truly is. And it's a sad day for democracy and, quite frankly, for the entire process.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, going back to what I was talking about, the food, I wanted to finish saying that, and this is pretty crazy, was they didn't let no food come in. So the thing that happens is, and it happens all the time, is a lot of Bernie supporters from online and all that started sending us pizzas. Now, the first set of pizzas we were able to get to. When people came out, they got in and started getting pizzas. We were eating pizzas. They had a table set up there. They didn't say nothing about it at the first moment. We ate the pizza. I mean, the pizzas were obliterated in seconds.
I'm sure.
Because everybody was starving.
Yeah.
But I think what had a lot to do with it was, unfortunately, it was only for the Bernie people. There was some Hillary campaign people that were starving coming up and, can we get pizza? And we're like, sorry, you have to be a Bernie supporter, you know, because obviously there's only enough for them and that's it,
mm-hmm.
you know? So I think that had something to do with it, and maybe they got upset and then went off and told the personnel from the parish. So a couple minutes later, again, here comes another shipment of giant stack of pizzas coming in. And by then, you have the head of the parish security, you have a couple Metro cops that are coming up to this table where we have the pizza. there's a woman there, a volunteer, and literally they're forcing her to get all this stuff, throw everything away off the table. They're forcing them to get everything away. And the funny thing is, they're making Metro Police go up and forcing, like, I mean, these guys are literally standing up in her face, making her pick everything up and throw everything away and get everything out of there. There's a lot of people that are standing around, and I'm sure if you go on YouTube, you'll find video for this. And literally, there's people that were like, "Oh, come on, man, it's just pizza, man, come on." So they had forced it. The only way you can eat the pizza is you had to go out of the convention. You couldn't eat it inside of the convention. So they pushed everything. They literally they made them just throw everything away.
You have got to be kidding me.
No. I mean, there's video proof on it. Go on YouTube. I'm guaranteed you'll find a video because there's Metro cops are, being kind of rude about the way they were doing it. But again, they were doing their job. I mean, Paris Hotel called them over and they came and did their job. So I'm not going to go and say that Metro did against them. But I mean, they could have been, a little bit more courteous, let her pick up the stuff and go. But they were kind of forcing her because Paris was forcing them to make them do that because they're a private property.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
This just continues to get better and better.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so much stuff to go on there. But I'm going to let you go ahead and talk to Valerie, who was inside of the convention. So she got to go and see the whole process inside of the convention. I was on the outside, which was pretty crucial, too.
Yes.
So I'm going to let her go ahead and talk to that.
And we will have that interview with Valeria Romano in the second hour of Southpaws. Don't you dare go away.
You're listening to Public Reality Radio, WPRR and WPJC.
What?
PublicRealityRadio.org is your place to find everything Southpaws, including links to our Facebook and Twitter accounts and archives of our previous shows. Now back to Southpaws.
I'm gonna pop some tags. Only got $20 in my pocket. I'm hunting, looking for a come up. This is f***ing awesome.
And welcome back to Southpaws on WPRR and WPJC Public Reality Radio. Darren Gibson, Assistant Program Director Mary Harrington, and our intern Lauren Yentz in the studio with you today. Everybody else is the day off today because of this very, very lengthy and very eye-opening interview with Karim Medrano and Valeria Romano. And Mayor, this is the first time you've heard this.
It is, yeah. We had to reschedule twice, and I was not available the Saturday that you were able to talk to them. So this is my first time hearing it. I kind of wish I'd been there, but
yeah. What do you think about what you've heard so far?
It's very, very interesting. And I'm just wondering how deep this all runs, because you were with me when I went to vote in the primaries. I've been registered as a Democrat at the same address for the last 5 years. And before that, I was registered, but at a different address. Mm-hmm. And I'd voted both elections for Obama. Not a single issue. When I went to vote in the primaries, all of a sudden, they couldn't find me anywhere. So I had to go sit in this office while this lady checked 3 or 4 different databases. I don't know what she was looking at. But I sat there, and I'm not leaving until you find this and, allow me to vote.
Exactly.
I sat there for probably a good 15 minutes, and she said, I can't find anything. Finally, she walks over to a filing cabinet and finds a piece of paper with my registered date on it from, was it 2011 or 2010 or something crazy like that. And she's like, oh, okay, I guess you can go vote now. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm going to vote now. There's a reason I sat here. I was shaking the whole time. Don't you dare send me away. But, yeah, so I'm just wondering how deep this all runs. How many other people had that experience.
Yeah, this is just one state,
Yeah, it's all over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well.
And everybody else seemed to have no issues.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, there were some things going on in California yesterday as well. Yeah. And for those of you who want to say, this is unproved, Greg Palast is a writer. He also he is an investigative journalist. Wrote on his official website, gregpalast.com, as Palast. that apparently they were screwing with the votes in California yesterday. As a matter of fact, Greg Palast he does a show, did a documentary, and he just wrote a book called The Best Democracy Money Can Buy. He did a special edition called The Best Democracy Money Can Buy Elections Crime Bulletin. He hosts that with Dennis Bernstein from Flashpoints, which Flashpoints airs 7 days a week at midnight right here on this station. And there were some shenanigans going on. As a matter of fact, he had received a notice from his co-host at KPFK, which is a Pacifica affiliate, Carrie Harrison. Quote, "I am in West Hollywood and was just denied voting twice. I'm NPP, which is no party preference, which you can register in California as no party preference, and you're allowed to vote you're allowed to do a cross ballot." Mm-hmm. She says, "I do not even appear on the voting rolls, nor does my street on the voting rolls. Voting suppression is in full swing." End of quote.
Wow.
It's disturbing.
Yeah, and then underneath it says, "Kerry just called. He drove to a new precinct as directed and was again denied a ballot."
Wow. This is unreal. I guess I never really, I don't know, when I was younger, I was just, democracy, yay, we all get to vote. Our vote counts. We matter.
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe
this
not so
hurts
much.
a little.
Yeah. And you think of like voter fraud or suppression in this very specific way that you see in movies and things like that. This is how it's actually played out, tangibly.
Exactly.
You know?
You can now see, I guess I was young and a little bit, a little naive. I thought it really did matter. It does matter, but like that's...
You're taught a more
not
idealistic version of democracy.
Exactly. And I was all for President Obama when I voted in those first two elections. My first one was really exciting. My mom and I went together and voted after work, and that was a great experience. But this is the first election that I have just been super excited about.
Same.
And I feel like it's really important. And then all of this happens, and my eyes are open.
It's crushing.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to cry a little bit.
Yeah. I'm just going to, I just read a comment on Facebook. Somebody just posted that they're leaving the Democratic Party. They've been part of the party 39 years, and they said no more.
Well, okay. So I guess my question then...
They're going to be independent.
Independent, okay.
Yeah.
I just see... we're going to have a huge independent party by the end of this election process, I think.
Possibly.
There's a ton of people leaving... I don't know. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
And not in a good way.
No, unfortunately not. And by the way, we're not done. We still have Valeria Romano's interview. That's going to be coming up in the second hour today. I know we're probably going to focus mostly on this. We're going to try and get to a couple of other things that are less politics, although we've got our Hammer Time segment today as well. A Libertarian candidate. He's running in Michigan for Debbie Dingell's seat down in Detroit. Seems to think that we need to get rid of age of consent laws nationally.
Yeah. Well, you know how I feel about that guy. Maybe we should take a page out of the Women Libs book today and try to end on good news.
That's probably a good idea. I think we're going to need to do that. So I tell you what, we're going to take our top of the hour break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more, and then we're going to go right into part one of our interview with Valeria Romano, who was a Bernie Sanders delegate at the Nevada Democratic Convention, and she's got even more details of the shenanigans that were pulled there. So you're going to want to make sure to stick around for hour number 2 of Southpaws when we come back. Stick around.
Southpaws contains adult language and adult situations. If you're not an adult, you should not be listening to this program. Listener discretion is highly advised.
And welcome back to the second hour of Southpaws on WPRR and WPJC Public Reality Radio. Darren Gibson, Mary Harrington, and Lauren Yentz in the studio today. Everybody else has the day off. because we've have been running this very lengthy interview that Lauren and I conducted on Saturday. We just ran the first hour with Karim Medrano, who was originally supposed to be a Bernie Sanders delegate at the Nevada Democratic Convention. However, he was denied credentials because they first couldn't find him in their records. Then when they did find him, they said, "Oh, you're not eligible." Whatever the hell that means. Mm-hmm. So Karim became a volunteer for the Bernie Sanders campaign at the Nevada Democratic Convention. And now we're into our interview with Valeria Romano, and she was an alternate delegate who actually became a credentialed delegate for the convention. And, yeah, she's got some very interesting things to say as well. So I tell you what, let's go ahead and let's start that interview right now. And, again, the first section is 13 minutes, 45 seconds. Second part of the interview is just over 15 minutes. So once those two parts finish, we'll come back and we'll start taking phone calls at 616-656-1680. So please bear with us. And here's the interview with Valeria Romano.
This whole process has been rigged from the beginning. I mean, I want to say from the caucus to the state convention, it was always favorability more going towards Hillary Clinton. Mm-hmm. And what happened at the caucus was, okay, there was no signs for Bernie. It was like if Bernie didn't even exist. The people registering us, they were all wearing Hillary gear. And the thing is, I didn't even know this, but I guess it's not, when you're going to a caucus, you're not supposed to be wearing, it's a state law that you shouldn't be wearing any gear if you're registering people. But apparently,
no kidding. I mean, that's just like if you go to vote. If you go to the polling place, you're not allowed to wear any type of solicitation for any candidate within 100 feet of the polling station. So that would only make sense that they would have the same rules at the convention.
Oh no, this was at the caucus, and
at the caucus, jeez.
Yeah, everybody was wearing nothing but Hillary stuff, and then it was kind of like Bernie didn't even exist. There was no signage. Maybe like one sign once I got inside the actual building where we casted our vote or whatnot. Mm-hmm. But that was it. Like, it was kind of crazy. And like I said, since the get-go, you can see clearly that the Nevada DMs, they favor Hillary. The fact of the matter is that Hillary's campaign had rented an office inside or next to the DM's Nevada DM's building, which is supposedly it's not allowable.
Right.
Supposedly. And I mean, I can totally say like so many things that have been going on, but the Clark County Convention, that was another fiasco. We were there in line since 7 a.m. and we got into the front of the line like around 11-ish. Mm-hmm. And once we were in front of the line, it was clear that there was more Bernie supporters than Hillary supporters at that convention. And that's why he won. But besides that, when I got to the front of the line, this woman named Artie Blanco, I didn't know who she was at the time. I would later come to find out at the state convention who she was and who she represented. So at the moment, this woman tried to deny us to register as alternate delegates for Bernie. She told us that we needed to leave, and she got in our faces and told us that we needed to leave, that we didn't have a right to register, and then, all that fiasco happened. I'm pretty sure my hubby already talked about that.
Yeah.
At the Nevada State Convention, first of all, when I went to go register the day before, I was in line for quite a bit, and then my hubby was running into issues about him not being registered, not being able to be found or whatnot. So then we sat down and waited for the credentials committee outside. I can tell you that there was at least, when we got there was at least 20 to 25 people that were all Bernie supporters, and maybe like 4 Hillary supporters in the same line waiting to be seen by the credentials committee. Mm-hmm. Now tell me why, I just found it very odd that this, one of the Hillary campaign people came over, saw the 4 Hillary people that were waiting for the credentials committee, and they gave them written credentials. Yeah.
What do you mean?
They expedited them without even having to see the credentials committee.
Are you serious?
Wow.
I kid you not. I put this on everything. I'm serious. I was standing right there, and I'm like, and I pointed that out. I'm like, hey, what the hell is going on? Why are these guys getting expedited, and these guys gotta wait, you know? And so I went over there, and I talked to one of the people that were for Bernie's campaign, and they were like, well, that shouldn't be going on. And she came outside, and by then, all the 4 Hillary supporters that were supposedly waiting to see the credentials committee had already left. They had already gotten their credentials and left. Now, most of the people that were waiting in that line, those aren't even counted in the 64. Those are other people, and that I saw at that moment. I don't know how many more before I even got to that line had already left, you know, just gave up and said, you know what, screw this, I'm leaving. Because they made you wait for a very long time. We were there, I want to say I was waiting with my hubby for the credentials committee at like 7. We started waiting at 7 p.m., and we got out of there at like 1 in the morning. And he got denied.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then out of all those 20 people, maybe 3 or 4 were accepted and got their credentials. And they were all given stupid excuses like, oh, we purged you, or we can't find you, or we don't have no record of you being a Democrat. That was all their excuses. So I was already upset about that. But then I told my hubby, you know, let's go to the convention and try to volunteer. You know, don't let them deter you from what it is that we're doing here, and it's supporting the right candidate and supporting the right ideas. And he's like, yeah, you're right, you know. So he stayed in and tried to volunteer, which he eventually got the volunteer position, and then I went inside the convention. When I was inside of the convention, the first thing that went on, first of all, they gave the count at 9:30 for all the delegates.
Man.
Okay, that's the first thing. And the doors closed at 10, but they gave the count already at 9:30, and they started the convention at 9:30. When the doors are supposed to be closed at 10 and the last people that could get in is at 10 o'clock. Okay, that's the first thing. Then when that happened, she started, we talked about the rules, the Roberta's rules or whatnot.
Right.
Yeah.
And those weren't, it was clear that half of, or probably even more than half of the crowd did not want those rules in place, you know, and she bypassed it, hit the gavel, and said that the rules had passed. That's when the crowd got upset. I got upset. I went to the front of the stage, and I started yelling at her and telling her, hey, you know, you need to do the right thing. This is wrong. And her response to all the people that were in the front of the stage telling her to, you know, to do the right thing, she turns on a video and completely drowns us out with this video. It's talking about a senator from the state and whatnot, and that even infuriated the crowd more.
Yeah.
You know, and we were, and then she shut off the lights, and then like everybody, we didn't leave the front stage. We kept staying there, and we kept yelling, and then that whole Barbara, what her name is, Barbara Boxer came out, and all that went on. But the whole ordeal, everybody was still upset the whole time, the whole convention. Everybody was upset because from the very beginning, our voices were not being heard, you know, and they were being snatched away. Democracy was being murdered in our faces, and we couldn't do anything about it. We felt so helpless.
And you'd mentioned Barbara Boxer. Barbara Boxer is a senator out of California. Why in the world was she at the Nevada Democratic Convention?
I have no clue. She came out there and just instigated more anger, because she came out and she's like, I'm going for the champion, Hillary Clinton, and all this stuff, and when you're booing me, you're booing yourselves. And she was just very, very hateful.
Hell?
Yeah, she was very hateful with her wording. And she flipped some people off as she was walking off the stage.
Yeah, there's actual video of her walking off the stage, blowing kisses, and then alternating between blowing kisses and flipping the bird.
Yeah.
That's very senatorial-like.
And then she claimed she felt threatened. My God, if she felt threatened, it was because she instigated the whole situation. You know what I mean? She's an instigator. And so, I mean, to me, it's ridiculous. Like, they only allowed most of the people that were talking, and, you know, they only allowed mostly Hillary supporters to go on stage and speak about themselves. Mm-hmm. And there was no signage of Bernie whatsoever. Nothing. It was nothing but Hillary supporters and Hillary's, sign in the convention, in the state convention. It was like Bernie didn't even exist.
Oh,
I'm serious.
God.
Then none of the people that were like part of that were going for Bernie were really allowed to speak up on stage. Like they really didn't allow. Like the only time that people that supported Bernie came out on there was, I can honestly say, it was just what's her name, Lucy Flores, and what's her name, Turner.
Oh, Nina Turner.
Nina Turner. They came out to calm the crowd down because we were so upset about the situation. So, yeah, it calmed us down a little bit, but we were still mad. And then the whole ordeal, like, what came down to the definite explosion and us being upset was the way it ended.
Right.
Yeah.
The way the convention ended, Roberta even went against her own rules. There was a motion on the floor for a recount, and she ended it because she didn't even want to count, she knew that she was going to lose, clearly, because what happened was Hillary had already gotten some buses assigned for her delegates. Mm-hmm. They picked up all these delegates up at a certain time, brought them to the Paris, but then they had to get picked up at a certain time. And apparently Hillary didn't count on the convention lasting so long, and they got picked up very early. I want to say like probably 2 hours before the whole ordeal came down about, you know, her ending the convention and whatnot. So when those buses came and picked up her delegates, instantly, I want to say more than half of her crowd was gone already.
Oh, wow.
So if there would have been a recount, she would have clearly lost.
Oh, yeah.
Because just the buses alone took almost more than half of her crowd.
There wouldn't have been any delegates there to fight a recount. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
And then that's the thing. Also, I don't know why they chose the Paris casino, because they have the worst parking, the smallest parking structure, I think, of all the casinos. And so a lot of people got locked out that already had their credentials, but couldn't make it to the doors in time. You know what I mean? Like, they couldn't make it to the doors in time because they had to park way further away, and then the walk down there and getting through the whole process to get to the front of the doors of the actual convention. And by the time they got there, they got locked out. You know, so I mean, there's a lot of situations that went on.
Yeah,
but like I said, half of her people were gone already. So then when we were all there, clearly you can see our crowd is still there, and we decided to have a recount, and that's when Roberta saw, Hillary's going to lose if I allow this, so I'm just going to end this convention ASAP and run off the stage, which is what she did, you know, and ridiculously, like, we didn't even get to vote for the at-large or the Pleos. They chose those. Nobody got to choose those people. The Nevada TMs were the ones that chose all these people. We didn't even have a voice for that. So, and then some of the Hillary supporters that were still there, they were upset because, to begin with, the platform, towards the end, she's explaining about the super delegates. The woman that was explaining the platform didn't even read the whole platform. She said that we had copies sent to us by email. I didn't get a copy. I can go through all my emails and I'll never see a copy of that because I never received one. That's the first thing. And then she didn't want to read through it, and she couldn't even explain what the rules were about the super delegates. She couldn't even explain. The Hillary side, the person that was speaking on the Hillary side, he was getting upset at her because she couldn't even explain herself about the delegates. She just kept going around in circles and just completely ignored the situation, didn't even give us a straight answer, and it was just a fiasco. Like, they weren't even prepared. I don't even think they were even prepared themselves in the sense of being able to answer questions that we had about the platform, and then above all, just the rigging and the continuous rigging of the whole process was just terrible.
We will continue with part 2 of our interview with Valeria Romano right after this. Make sure you stick around.
They're exiting stage left, but don't worry. They'll be back very soon. You're listening to Southpaws on WPRR and WPJC.
They're obsessed with political talk. Now back to Southpaws with Darren, Joe, and April.
And welcome back to Southpaws on WPRR and WPJC Public Reality Radio. We're going to continue with part 2 of our interview with Valeria Romano, who attended the Nevada State Democratic Convention back in May. You know there's going to be the supporters of Hillary that are going to say, well, you needed to understand the rules. The rules were published beforehand, and you know, that's not Hillary's fault. That's not the Nevada Democratic Party's fault that you didn't read the rules and this and that and the other. What do you have to say to somebody who says that?
Yeah, see, the thing is, I would be okay with the whole comments that Roberta and the DMs, the Nevada DMs, have to say, but the reality is I didn't get the rules. I didn't receive them in my emails, and I didn't have access to them. So obviously there is a problem when you don't inform your people about the rules.
And even so, they didn't even follow them themselves. So, I mean, what can you say?
They didn't even follow the rules.
That's very true.
You know, like, that's another thing. You know, you can't... Her rules, I believe, if you had a motion on the floor, nothing could be ended unless it was an emergency or...
Not what happened.
Or 80%. Yeah, but, like, it's just terrible. Like, I just want to say, it's just terrible how the whole process is and how clearly and bluntly they stole our voice.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which side you're on. It doesn't matter what side you're on, whether you're Hillary or Bernie. You want to be able to know that the process is transparent and it's actually your voice being heard no matter what side you're on.
Exactly.
And what happened at that convention, it goes way further than just being a Bernie or a Hillary supporter. It's about the fact that democracy has no transparency and that, you know, we don't have a choice. Mm-hmm. When things are being ran this way, there is no choice for us. We have to conform to whatever they want.
Right.
Whoever is running the whole situation, which is wrong. Our voices count, and we should be heard. But people like this, they're impeding the process.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Now, is this the first time that you've been a delegate for the Democratic Party in Nevada?
Delegate, yes, but I voted for Obama in 2008 specifically because I never believed in Hillary Clinton. I've never, even though I'm a woman, I would never ever vote for her because she doesn't stand for what I believe in.
Right there with you.
Yeah.
Women 38% less. And she claims to want women's rights. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big old joke.
Exactly. Let me ask you this question. As a result of what you've experienced this year, if you were asked to be a delegate in 2020 for regardless of whoever's running, what would your answer be? Would you do it, or would you just say, nope, not after the last time?
Well, they do the right thing, and the Democratic Party does the right thing and, you know, gives the nomination to the real candidate, the one that's been winning all along, with, you know, truly been winning, not just going by the rigging that's been going on, then maybe, yes, I will consider continue to be part of the Democratic Party. But as if they do the wrong thing, then I'm leaving the party. I'm not going to be part of this process because my voice doesn't count. Those countless hours that I sat from the caucus to the state convention, to the Clark County convention. I mean, this is time that I've taken out of my life and out of my work state to just go and be part of the process to get our voices heard. And if you're going to steal my voice like that, then no, I'm not going to take my time to go to your events and support your causes because obviously my voice isn't being heard there. So I might as well not be part of the Democratic Party. You know what I mean? I'll probably leave the party if they don't give the nomination to Bernie. That the whole situation that happened, I was willing to vote for Hillary if it came down to it. But what happened and what I experienced at the Democratic State Convention here in Nevada, after that, I am Bernie or bust. I would never vote for Hillary ever because she's part of the problem. She might like they might say, oh well, it's the people that are running it over here, and she has no idea what's going on. That's bullshit. I'm sorry, but
it's all a reflection of who she is.
Yeah.
Yes. If she was a good person and she really had real good morals, she'd come down here and talk to her people from her campaign and to the Nevada DMs and try to correct what went on. But obviously she would never do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Or address the man punching a woman. Like,
exactly.
Tons of things.
Yeah, that's another thing. I can't believe that went on, and, they don't talk about it in the media. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's a man hitting a woman. I mean, and she's a woman. Hillary's a woman. If she really believed in women and fighting for women's rights and all this stuff and equal pay, she'd come down here and say, hey, what the hell's the matter with you? You're supporting me, but then you're punching a woman? You know what I mean? But she doesn't even want to talk about that. Of course not. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to bring it up.
Exactly.
But the reality is that these people from Hillary's side, they're attacking Bernie supporters. Because when I was in the line waiting, there was a Hillary supporter behind me calling me a socialist and calling me a neo-communist and all these stupid things that were just telling me, and you're not a real Democrat. I'm like, no, excuse me. She's not the real Democrat.
Right.
Yeah, he told me I wasn't a real Democrat for going for Bernie. And I told him, excuse me, she's not the real Democrat. Do you remember that she's very proud of being a Goldwater girl? A Goldwater girl. A man that was a Republican in 1965, and he was wanting to reinstate Jim Crow laws. Are you kidding me? And her logo looks exactly or similar to Goldwater's campaign in 1965. Mm-hmm. If you look at her logo, I mean, these are all real facts that are out there. I mean, she talks about, I'm so proud of being a Goldwater girl. I would never support somebody like that. I knew these things in 2008. That's why I went for Obama. Mm-hmm. I'd never go for somebody that's, and deep down inside, she's a right-wing Republican, and she's racist, secretly racist. Mm-hmm. I feel she's secretly racist. And sometimes, because she did make that speech about the super predators, and, that's just, it grosses me out. She's not a person.
Drives you crazy. Yeah. I tell you, there's one thing I want to add, and I want your opinion on this, because I already know because we do have a few Hillary supporters that listen to the station and listen to my show in particular that say, well, Bernie's really not winning this. Hillary's got 2 million, 3 million, how many ever more votes more than Bernie Sanders nationally in the caucuses and primaries. What's your response to that?
I say that rigging is not winning, and also, saying that she has all these 2 million votes. No, not at all. She can't even fill a basketball gym inside of a high school in California. Right. I mean, that should tell you something. Right. Obviously, there's no transparency, and she is claiming all these votes because she's rigging the whole process and taking away our voice. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason she's supposedly winning. And the reality is that there's a couple of states that are still yet, to have to go through the process themselves. Like right now, we're currently waiting for California and a couple other states. And then the fact is that she had super delegates already in her pocket since the beginning of this race, like way before the race started. 400 people were already pledged to her. Mm-hmm. So, we got to keep that in consideration and keep the facts. The facts are that there is more Bernie supporters. We're just not being heard, and we're not being seen. Unless you're there in that moment, you will see the support, and you will see how many are going for Bernie. Mm-hmm. In reality, it's more. There really is more Bernie supporters than Hillary supporters, and I don't care how much she says that she has all these votes. Rigging is not winning, and it's only creating more anger and problems for people that are like us, that are not being heard, and it's creating problems for the Democratic Party, because after this, if they don't do the right thing, I'm leaving the party. And I'm sure that the rest of the people that were at the Nevada Democratic State Convention feel the same way. And there's a huge movement of Bernie or bust. Huge. Mm-hmm. There's many people pledging already. I pledged. My husband pledged. I got a couple of friends that are pledging, and we're going to Philadelphia, and we're going to fight the fight, because we believe that we should be heard. When we have the top 1% running everything, and a vast majority of people are in poverty, and our country is suffering, our planet is suffering, because we are creating, these corporations are creating so many environmental issues that people really need to open up their eyes and realize that if we don't have a planet, the DNC, the Republican Party, all that we know is not really going to matter. You know what I mean? And Bernie touches bases with this, and this is an important issue that nobody else seems to really notice. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Except the Bernie people, except the people that are into Bernie, that believe in Bernie's word. And you know, I just want to say that it's a shame that the DNC would rather put somebody like Hillary Clinton that clearly is losing against Donald Trump, just for the top 1% interest. You know, it's just terrible.
Yeah.
It's just horrible, and it's sad too, because if Trump becomes the president, that would be the DNC's fault, nobody else's.
Exactly.
Because the people are uniting, and we're not gonna vote for somebody we don't believe in, and that's just Bernie or bust all the way.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, Valeria, I want to thank you and Karim so much for joining us today. Thank you for going to the convention and trying to be involved in the process and reporting on exactly what you saw there.
Oh, there was tons of stuff going on. I mean, we can be here all day if we want to talk thoroughly about it. But like I said,
yeah.
Oh, and also let me just bring up one thing, because this is another thing that my husband just told me. I completely forgot to bring it up.
Yes.
They changed the date on the state convention here in Nevada to a date where they knew that a lot of our millennials were getting graduated.
Really?
It was during graduation of UNLV. A big graduation of UNLV. All the colleges actually in Nevada were graduating that same date. So that had a lot of play. Yeah. But even though they said that, we still lost by 33 delegates, and 64 were purged, and then we're not counting the ones that got purged on Friday. So, I mean, they had to clearly and bluntly rig the whole thing in order to win, because there was so many Bernie supporters, so many more than Hillary. You know, it's so sad. It's really sad, because a lot of these people traveled so far from different counties just to come down here and get purged. You know, and I mean, because there was a couple of people that weren't even from Las Vegas that were being purged.
Like, how many barriers can we set up here? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's terrible. I mean, it just saddens me, because I felt like, you know, these people drove. They drove all the way out here from different counties, all around Nevada, and then just to get told that they're not going to be part of the process. It's just mind blowing to me, and this is why the DNC might not have many supporters after this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't blame anybody. I feel the same way. I'll leave.
Yeah. I hear you.
So we got to stand in solidarity and burn your bust.
Yeah.
Fight the fight for the 99.
All right. Well, hey, we got to let you go, and I want to say thank you so much for joining us again today. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you for listening to us.
Oh, absolutely.
And, you know, we need to definitely inform people and let people know. Just the other day, I ran into a Hillary supporter, and she was telling me, well, why are you going for Bernie? And then I told her, I broke it down to her, and I told her, you know, there's a reason why I didn't vote for her in 08, and, you know, I can't support a woman that doesn't support women. She says she does, but she really, truly doesn't. You know, she's a secret racist person. Now she's trying to say that she's Hispanic, and then she's trying to earn the African-American vote by saying she keeps hot sauce in her purse and all this crap, you know. So I explained to her, you know, she was a Goldwater girl. This woman particularly, she was African-American. She didn't even know that all of the stuff about Goldwater and her logo and stuff. And once I showed it to her, she just kind of was like, oops, I think I did the wrong choice. I'm like, yes, you did. You did the wrong choice. You didn't do your research there.
Yeah.
But she agreed with me afterwards, and she was like, well, yeah, you know what? I guess Bernie is the best choice. And she was like, oh, Mike, it's a little too late. The convention already passed.
Yeah.
But, yeah. All right, guys.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Please, Valeria, please stay in touch with us.
We definitely will. I will definitely be staying in touch. Just yesterday, there was a March for Bernie over here on First Friday. A lot of people out there were informing the rest of the public about the Bernie's platform, and, you know, we're just kind of Oh, we'll keep in touch with you definitely because we're going to be in Philadelphia, and we'll probably take video, and we'll call you from over there if you guys don't decide to go down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because we actually might be covering the convention in Philadelphia in July for the station and for Pacifica Radio.
That's awesome.
All right.
Great.
All right. Thank you so much for calling today.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
And
have
a great day.
Yes, you too.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. All right. And with that, we're going to take our break here, and we have more of Southpaws when we come back. Make sure you stick around.
You're listening to Southpaws on WPRR AM 1680, FM 90.1, and FM 95.3, WPJC FM 88.3, and streaming at publicrealityradio.org.
They don't pull any punches. They're Darren Gibson, Joe Elder, and April Crow. Now back to Southpaws.
And welcome back to Southpaws on WPRR and WPJC Public Reality Radio. Darren Gibson, Mary Harrington, and Lauren Yentz in the studio right now. Everybody else has the day off today, and we're opening up the phone lines right now, 616-656-1680. Oh, man. Yeah. So that was our interview with Valeria Romano and Karim Medrano. Again, they were both attendees at the Nevada Democratic Convention. Karim was supposed to be a delegate to the Bernie Sanders campaign, was not allowed credentials, but attended as a volunteer for the Bernie Sanders campaign. Valeria was originally selected as a alternate delegate, and got credentialed and was in the convention as well. So, what an interview!
Both of them were very intense and very informative.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Lots of things going on that just really saddens me, angers me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
it
feeling
gets very little attention.
And it gets zero attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just say it. If it wasn't for social media, if it wasn't for alternative media, places like Raw Story,
mm-hmm.
or even for that matter, Pacifica Radio, nobody would know any of this stuff.
No, exactly. I was actually talking to a friend of mine about an unrelated story on Facebook the other day. And he said, I can't watch the news anymore. So he's like, I feel like I never know what's going on because it's just one BS story after the next. And I said, I'm pretty much radio and web news only. And even then, I'm very, very selective about where I get my information from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I ended up sending him a few links. I was like, this is what you want to watch. These are all really good sources. You can follow them right on Facebook. No TV news necessary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm actually at the point, if you come over to my house, there are no 24-hour news channels available. I've blocked them all.
Nice.
Because I'm sick of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm absolutely tired of the corporate media spoon-feeding you this fecal matter that they call news.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Well, when Andre and I were talking, I don't know, he asked why I was really careful, and it's like, well, I mean, there's all kinds of news sources out there, and I mean, like, a lot of the TV channels have, written news as well. So why don't you trust those? It's because everybody's getting a paycheck from somewhere, and usually the people doing the paying have a lot of BS to spin.
Just remember, all of the television stations in this country are owned by 6 corporations.
Mm-hmm. Guess who they're looking out for? Not you.
Yep. Do I need to play the George Carlin clip? They're in the club and you ain't in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the truth. It really is. How much money has Time Warner contributed to Hillary Clinton over the last 10, 15 years? You can go to the Federal Elections Commission and look all that information up. It's public record.
I don't even want to know, honestly.
It's millions.
I feel like it would make me nauseous.
Mm-hmm.
I did like that Valeria said she was fine voting for Hillary if Bernie didn't get the nomination until all of this happened, and now she said, no, I'm done.
Because again,
I get that all the time. Well, you're being really selfish if you're Bernie or bust. You're being really immature. And I was like, oh, yeah? Well, I mean, look at what her campaign is doing to win. Mm-hmm. You don't think that's immature?
Yeah.
And what's going to come when and if she does get the presidency. This is just like the preface for it. Who knows what's going to come?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Say all you want to about Donald Trump. I'll never vote Republican ever in my lifetime. I've seen what they do to working class, especially union families. There's absolutely no way I would ever vote Republican. But you know what? At least they didn't pull the shenanigans that the Democrats have this election cycle. Pulling Bernie's access to the van illegally, by the way, and that was proved by the Washington Post. They got a copy of the contract, which the DNC violated on multiple occasions, such as not allowing Bernie. Number one, they shouldn't have done it in the first place because the Hillary Clinton campaign never filed a grievance in writing that Bernie's campaign was accessing Hillary's records. According to the contract, and it specifically stated, they have to complain in writing first. Once that has been done, then the Bernie campaign has 10 days to remedy the problem. So not only was there nothing in writing, but Bernie's campaign was not allowed the 10 days to fix the problem and destroy everything and show the proof to the DNC. Nope, access was immediately denied, and there was such an outcry that they had to reverse themselves. Mm-hmm. Same thing in Florida with Tim Canova, who's running against W. Wasserman Schultz. Doesn't have access to the van, or didn't for a long time. Finally, there was enough of an outcry that they had to change the rules. They had to change it. The shenanigans in this entire election cycle have got me so irate to the point, quite frankly, I'm not even sure if I'm going to vote in November.
I mean,
I don't even care.
I mean, I feel like if we did, again, what's the difference? Because no matter what, they're going to find a way to suppress something or make something look the way they want it to look, and there's nobody to answer to, it seems like. So,
so right now, my plan is Green Party all the way up and down the ticket. Unless it's a Dem that supported Bernie Sanders, then you get my vote. You supported Hillary, no effing way.
I've seen a lot of people posting memes about voting for Jill Stein.
Yep.
When it comes up, which honestly, when you first mentioned it, I was like, I don't see how. I mean, there wasn't quite enough buzz about it then. I was like, it feels like that's kind of throwing your vote away, which you absolutely, I mean, you have the right to vote for, absolutely, and I support you 100%. However, it just seemed kind of, it's almost as bad as voting for Trump, which is, I mean, how I felt at the beginning. It's not the same thing, but that's kind of how it felt like. And then now that more time's gone by and I see more people in support of Jill Stein saying, hey, look, this isn't going to happen.
Yeah. Hey, Alan, we're live today, so if you want to call in, call right now. 616-656-1680. Yeah, with the lengthy interview that we had today, we just really didn't have time for anything else to talk about or interviews. So we're considering. I can't even talk today. That's how bad it is.
Monday mouth on Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly. Not enough caffeine. Yeah, we are considering this a very special edition of Southpaws. So this will be one that we will probably replay anytime that I'm need time off. Hey, Alan, is this you?
Oh yeah, how's it going, Darren?
Hey, doing great. How are you doing?
Oh, been crazy busy. So I just turned the radio on for the first time all week a little bit ago and listened to the interview, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But then I was like, well, is this recorded or is this live? So
it's live. Since we got you on, we got to play your theme music.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, there we go.
Wouldn't have it any other way, my friend.
Yeah, so you heard the interview, or at least a little bit of it. What did you think?
Well, it's not surprising. That's been my, as I have my weekly pick on Stan moments, that's the whole reason you can't support her in any way. It's just that the whole system is so skewed against the average person that with the exception of Bernie, and you just can't trust them. And So when you just made a comment about not voting, or the lady that was doing the interview there, and she made a comment about maybe they just won't vote. And the sad part is that's exactly what the establishments want is the less people they vote, the less people they have to influence.
Right. Well, let's take a look at what happened in Puerto Rico. They cut down the number of polling places. They limited the voting to 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's when the polls were open.
That's horrible.
Wow.
Oh, it is horrible. Bernie
that.
Sanders has filed a formal complaint about it.
Good.
It's ridiculous.
They'll look into that next January.
Of course.
Yeah, that's...
When we have either Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump as president, unless... And I'm tell you what, I'm going to make my prediction right now.
Oh, boy.
2 scenarios. If Bernie runs an independent campaign, here's what's going to happen. You're going to see the highest voter turnout in the history of this country, and you're going to see President Sanders. Guaranteed. People are fed up. Unless there's a hell of a lot of voter corruption, which probably will happen, that's what you'll see. Because I tell you what, neither of the two parties want to see a strong third party. They rig the rules to favor them. But if it's head up Hillary and Donald Trump, lowest turnout ever.
And I think Trump wins.
I really hope not.
I
hope
originally,
not.
months ago, I made the joke that I hope he gets the nomination because it'll be easy to beat him. But as
Right.
simpleton as this entire voting population appears to be, and that, she's going to do something. And I don't mean this sexist or any of that, but that voice is going to come out and it's going to turn a whole lot of people that are on the fence away from her. And I know that upsets other people to listen to her Hillary fans, but that's what's going to happen. And all of a sudden, you're going to have the diehard old white people that are going to always vote Republican. They'll show up, and a whole bunch of independents, everybody else will just back with it. And then all of a sudden, you got that schmuck as our leader.
Mm-hmm. Although I'm hoping for enough Republicans to just say, you know what, I can't do it. And just...
every time I think there's got to be some Republicans out there that hate him as much as we do, and then I see more and more, go Trump. And it's really disheartening.
People you
to
thought
know
you
that
could,
how many people
yeah.
believe that crap.
People I thought were intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
In Lowe's parking lot last weekend, and there's a nice pickup, big F-250, blah, blah, and Trump, Make America Great sign again, and you just, what possibly could be going through your mind, on that? But, I don't ask because it's in public, and I don't want to get into a fight, so, just, because it's just, the level of stupidity is hard to imagine.
It is.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Well, I got to get back at it, and happy anniversary, Darren. Nice to see your post this morning. So
thank you very much. Yeah, for what Alan's referencing, today is my official 1-year anniversary as program director of WPRR.
Yay! Woohoo.
Yeah, Darren. Well, you make a big difference in my world. That's all I can say personally. So I appreciate it. So
stop!
You guys have a nice
make me
day.
cry. Stop it.
Hey,
Okay,
all right, you're on the phone.
Thanks,
you don't have
Alan.
to deal with it. Don't make it cry.
That's
true.
Good point. Sorry.
That's
have
true.
a good day, you guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
Alan.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. All right, I tell you what. Let's go ahead. Let's take our last break. We're gonna pull a Monday Women Libs. We're gonna try and find some good news to end. But
Absolutely.
I definitely want to get our Hammer Time segment, douchebag of the week. The idiot that's running as libertarian for Debbie Dingle's seat, saying that maybe we should get rid of age of consent laws because some teenagers can handle relationships with older adults. We'll fill you in on everything and the teacher who got impregnated by her 13-year-old lover right after this.
You're listening to Public Reality Radio, WPRR and WPJC.
You can carry Darren, Joe, and April in your pocket. Download the phone app to listen to the Southpaws anytime at publicrealityradio.org. Now back to Southpaws.
And welcome back to Southpaws on WPRR and WPJC Public Reality Radio. By the way, Mayor, thank you for the voiceover work.
My pleasure.
Always a good job, as you always do. Oh, boy. I'm out of breath. I have to run from the other room back into the studio. I've got Emmy on line one. Emmy, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. How are you? Thank you.
Good.
So, yep, I'm calling because I really feel that this election coming up and beyond is really important, and I think we really need to discuss, especially for the Burn Your Bust people, the Burn Your Bust movement, we really need to talk about it more and go over the scenarios and maybe even try as a county, and maybe, because I know that Michigan's going to be very influential in the election, that maybe we should try to organize other Bernie or Bust counties or states, so on, around the country, or maybe just in Michigan, to see how we can continue forward for this election and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I know that's one of the things that Bernie has talked about with his campaign is that this, if the election or if the nomination process doesn't go his way, this doesn't end anything.
No,
not
at
all.
This
is just the beginning.
But you're right. Everybody needs to talk about it and be on the same page. If we're all scattered.
Yeah, I mean, I personally have never been in a situation before where I really don't want to vote if it's really between just Clinton and Trump. But I feel so bad about that because, in a way, I'm sort of electing Trump. You know, and if I were not to vote. So I just feel like I want to see how many other people are out there. And first of all, is Bernie? Is it for sure he's not going to run as an independent? Did he already? What about?
I have heard different stories. I think personally, I think the way he's been phrasing things is he wants to keep his options open. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just the way he's phrasing things. But I've heard different things. I know Jill Stein at the Green Party's been trying to get him to join the Green Party, and she'll take the vice president spot if he decides to run as a Green Party.
Oh, that would be a cool team.
I've heard that. I just read last night that supposedly if he doesn't get the nomination, then he's going to throw his support behind Hillary Clinton.
Right.
I've heard that too, but I just don't see happening.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they would work well together.
No.
After all this.
Right.
Although he gets a lot of stuff done in the Senate, though. I mean, so he is really good at reaching across party lines. So
Well, and I do feel like he would step up, and regardless of the bad feelings that he might have towards her, especially after everything that has happened in the last couple of months, I feel like he would put that behind him and just do what needs to be done because he's just that awesome of a guy.
I'm sure.
But it would still be incredibly difficult for him. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I feel like Hillary asking him to be her running mate is just kind of an insult. Like,
yeah,
I have completely screwed you over. Hey, do you want to be on my team now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think she would do that? I don't think she would. And if she would, I don't know if he'd accept. And number two is I don't even know if he would accept that, if I would even feel like, I guess I would vote for that ticket, but it just seems like, it's still the same machine, it's still the same establishment, it's still the same policies, international and national, that will be basically put forth. And so it would be very, even in that scenario, it would still be very, I'd still have a mixed bag feeling, but I would support it. But I'm just wondering how many other people are there for the Burn Your Bust movement, and what will that mean for the Clinton success rate or ability?
Yeah, that's very true. Hey, tell you what, Emmy, I got another call I want to take. Here's what I want to do. I'm going to put you back on hold, and after the show, I'm going to pick up and get your information off the air. So please stay on the line. If we get disconnected, please call back.
Okay, sure.
All right, thank you. Let me put you on hold. And I just dropped you, of course, because I hit the wrong button. Who's this on line 3?
Hi, this is Rick.
Hey, Rick, we've only got a minute.
Okay, real quickly here. What was the final, or at least as far as they called it in California?
California was called for Hillary. I'm not sure of the margins because I really haven't seen a whole lot about it.
I hear there might be a challenge because it was that close.
Well, there's been multiple reports of voting machines breaking down, not enough crossover ballots, people being denied crossover ballots, people not being found on the rolls. Here we go again.
Bernie is not dropping out. And here's the thing, and I guess you can't directly blame this on Hillary, but this Associated Press report, I guess, what did it come out, Sunday or Monday night?
Monday night.
I mean, that just suppressed all the Bernie people all over in all 6 of those states.
And that was the purpose behind it.
So, whether she's in collusion with them or not, and we've talked many times about how everybody, including MSNBC, last night, what's her name, Rachel Maddow, was giggling all over the place, goody, goody, we're going to get a woman nominee, ha, ha, ha. She didn't say that, but, that's the implication.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that bears more looking. The Nevada thing, with all due respect, that's ancient history, and there weren't that many delegates at stake. But California is the richest delegate state there is, and if there were shenanigans going on there, that really needs to be looked into.
Yeah, and that's and even though it doesn't matter, the number of votes don't matter. It's just the process of the corruption.
We know that. Sure.
Right, and it needs to be known.
Yeah. Hey, Rick, we got to get going. We're just about out of time. Thank you. All right, Emmy, please call back. I accidentally dropped you, so call back and leave your information with me. Mary and Lauren, thank you for stepping in today and joining me, and this has been a lot of fun.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and we're going to let Kristen do the disclaimer, and we'll be right back.
The stations that carry Southpaws do not necessarily share the opinions expressed on the show. Southpaws is protected by the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and is copyrighted by Big D Entertainment. All rights reserved.
And that's going to wrap things up for today. We'll be back next week. I'm Darren Gibson.
I'm Mary Harrington.
I'm Lauren Yentz.
For everybody else from Southpaws and our announcer, Kristen Cook, please be kind to each other.